Andrew Montana. That's because he's actually over at the board right now, and we'll get to him in just a second. But first, I want to introduce y'all to our lovely guest, Jack Hanzal. Jack, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. And as you can see, if you're wondering why Andrew is looking so good last segment, it's because he had my jacket, which debuted today. It's a shame that he had to wear it first.
He looked a little bit better.
I definitely look better, just in general sense, not even just in the jacket.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, I think it's finally time. Andrew, we see you at the board over there. You got something planned for us.
Yeah, I would hope so, because now I'm rocking Ty's jacket, and it's nice and comfy. It's all big and stuff, just like him, my little Huggy Bear. But we'll just start off right away with my NFL fantasy sleepers. If we could get the graphic up, that would be insanely cool. But yeah, just to start off, my first pick is going to be James Conner, who's currently sitting at 51st. There we go. Updated to 51st. Arizona Cardinals running back. He's in a weird situation in the Cardinals right now, especially regarding their offense. You've got Kyler Murray, who's on IR. He's inconsistent. He's becoming the Trae Young of point guards, at least for the NFL. And in this sense, he just gets blown away by the wind. Must have been the wind. And if you got yourself a receiving core that is Zach Ertz, and that's it, I would assume that James Conner is going to take a big leap. He's presumed to jump from 200 fantasy points last season to 202 this year, which, I mean, not the biggest jump in the world, but why not take it? And not only that, on the other side of the coin, you've got some questions about his durability. He's missed at least 2 games every season of his career, including last year when he missed 4 games. You know, a little bit questionable, especially if you're looking at his draft stock as a fantasy GM, but I would say he's a solid running back too. Just throw him in as your backup. Why not? Next up, we got Alexander Mattison, running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He put up great numbers last season, actually. If you looked at the 4 games that Dalvin Cook sat, Alex Mattison actually led running backs in total touches, rushing yards, and actually fantasy points, which is, you know, a crazy stat to have, especially considering you're the backup running back. He's projected to jump from 88 fantasy points last year to 202 this year, which huge leap regardless, but he's going to be taking advantage of Jay Jettas just eating up the outside, and you got yourself a decent offense to run through. I think he's going to take a huge step, and you should too, especially considering he's as low as, actually this was also updated to 53rd. So just why not throw him in as your backup? He could even be your running back 1 if the situations are just like that. Next up, we've got Drake London, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. Self-serve. He's currently sitting at 68th. If he were slept on by one more position, though, that would be the funny number. He's also in a weird situation in Atlanta. You've got Desmond Riddler taking over QB, who's probably going to average, if he plays all seasons and stuff, or all the games and everything, he's going to throw, 8 interceptions, under 65% completion. I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. You've got Bijan Robinson taking over the running back slot as a rookie. I think that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Drake London. He's a really efficient wide receiver. He actually was 17th among running backs in routes run total, but only got 48th in targets, which is crazy because he's doing his job. He's getting out there. He hits the QB with the triangle, and he's not getting the pigskin. It's ridiculous. I think he's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Atlanta, and he's going to open up a lot of opportunities for your fantasy team. Next up, we've got George Pickens out of Pittsburgh. You've got yourself a Pickens and a Pickett situation, and they're both entering their second year in the NFL. I think it's going to be a great little 1-2 punch, QB wide receiver. Not only that, he's got hands. He's got absolute hands. If you look at his stats from last year, he put up 9.5 yards per target, which is 11th most in the NFL. And the fact that he's fallen down to 81st, I think is crazy. He's projected to jump from 166 fantasy points to last year to 181 this year, which I think is going to be a great pickup for you at wide receiver 3 or even wide receiver 2. Now, last but not least on this list, my favorite pick out of all of these is Houston Texans' newest tight end, Dalton Schultz. He just spent 5 years in Dallas, which is crazy. He's like Luka. I see you. And entering his 6th year in the league, but the only issue with him is that, first of all, he's the only person on this list who's actually projected to decrease in fantasy points from last year to this year, from 143 to 135. He ran a high-paced, efficient, electric offense out in Dallas, and just crossing the state down the southeast. Of course, you got to stub at Buc-ee's on the way, because why not? You're going into Houston, and it's a new system for offense. It's a new system for the entire team. You've got rookie C.J. Stroud coming in, running point, and Dalton just needs to get used to the new scheme, get used to the new offense. I think he's going to be fine, though. He's actually finished top 11 among tight ends in the last 3 seasons in targets, yards, receptions, and fantasy points. So that's crazy. And the fact that he's 115, it's an easy steal. You could take him at tight end 2 or even tight end 1. I wouldn't be mad if I saw that in my fantasy league. But boys, I'm going to pitch it back to you guys at the desk. What do you think overall about this list?
All right, so I'm going to start. It's actually a pretty all-around good list. I can't really lie.
Thank you.
James Conner's a very iffy pick, but I can understand. He's a fantasy. He's like a fantasy. He'll hold it down for you in fantasy. Alexander Madison, I love that pick a lot. He's very, very, very underrated. He's probably going to break out this season very well. Drake London. Drake London's the one I had in question because I actually was looking at the list. There's a wide receiver below him that looks like he should have a much, much, much better season, and I would have picked him preferably.
Who would that be?
It's going to be Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is somebody that was right below Drake London and could genuinely be the wide receiver one on arguably the best team in the NFL. And if you compare their stats, they both had similar targets last season. Ayuk had 1K yards and 8 touchdowns in comparison to Drake London's 800 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Drake London is a little bit more efficient when it comes to catching the ball. When he gets the ball, and he will catch it, yards after catch, it doesn't stand out, but it stands out enough to consider him a sleeper in my opinion.
I guess, but at the same time, he does have Desmond Ridder throwing him the ball, so I can't bet on it too much.
He is in, yes.
But yeah, other than that, Dalton Schultz love to pick, George Pickens love to pick. What do y'all boys think?
I love the Pickens pick. Pickens, fantastic pick.
Bars.
But
Bars.
That's what I do. James Conner, do not like that one. It's simple reasoning. Just I don't like. Same with Dalton Schultz. I don't like players on bad teams. At the end of the day, the Cardinals are going to be a terrible team.
They're going to be so
Why
bad.
would James Conner be
if
good?
we're talking fantasy, and James
Yes.
Conner is the only hope for Arizona's offense, it's a similar situation to Bijan Robinson out in Atlanta. He's going to get all the numbers.
No, the Falcons are
That's
actually
much
halfway
different.
decent.
That's
the
much
Falcons
different.
are decent.
I understand, but
James
Conner has
there's
the
going to be
entire
11
offense
people in the
his hands at
box because
moment.
no one's
Kyler
going to
Murray's not
trust
gonna be there
Joshua
for him,
Dobbs
He's
to
gonna
throw
be
the ball to
gaming whole
anyone.
time. Don't worry about it, Jack.
I mean, they might not put a corner on the field. Joshua Dobbs is not throwing the ball to anyone.
He's not.
And I don't like Madison as much just because the Vikings are a super pass-heavy
Dog,
team.
I made that one for you specifically.
I
What do you
know,
mean you
but
don't
the
like it?
Vikings are just so pass-heavy. I wouldn't expect you to know, but man, they're just an extremely pass-heavy team.
Dang, bro.
They only ran the ball 40% of the time,
But still, even with Dalvin Cook on the team, he did very, very well.
He's a great backup.
I think Alexander Madison could do at least close to what Dalvin Cook did.
You look at,
Personally.
I mentioned it, Jack. And again, this is all for you. When Dalvin Cook was out, Madison ate. He took the
did.
entire load off of Dalvin Cook's shoulders and just literally ran with it.
But one running back that I like a lot better, and this isn't my original sleeper one, I'll get to that in 1 second. One running back I like a lot more was Javonte Williams. I think
love
he's
that
much
pick.
better than Alexander
Is he gonna be
Madison.
ready for
and
it?
I don't know
James
about
Conner,
better.
and
I don't know about better,
and
but-
he's definitely better. He was like a second-round pick in last year's draft before he got hurt. But
Yeah, but that's the point. He got hurt.
Last year, he's going to be a lot better than Madison and James Conner. My real sleeper, though, is Kyle Pitts. I think he was a decoy last year and the last 2 years for Atlanta. Now they got Bijan Robinson. He will not need to be a decoy. And they
Such
can
a
actually have him
run-heavy
run
offense.
routes.
Yeah.
Such a
They're
run-heavy offense.
They're going to pass
Why-
more. They have Drake London now. They have
Drake
Kyle
London's
Pitts.
their first target over
They'll be
there.
great,
Kyle
but I-
Pitts is still not going to get those receptions.
I really want to get the
That's
film.
the reason.
I really need to get
Phil,
the film.
go ahead. Switch your
He's going to
bars.
do his thing
All
regardless.
right.
Also, Jack, just a weird question. Do you know what's going on with Alexander Madison in this undisclosed injury?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I didn't know. Internet doesn't know. I figured, Jack, the prophet, has got to know, right?
He's going to play week
Yeah.
one. That's all
He
I know.
wouldn't expect you to know. But Phil, go ahead.
All right. It pains me to say this. Shouts out to Nolan. Shouts out to you, Ezra, and my boy Watto. My sleeper is Kendrick Bourne.
I love it. I love it. I
Bourne.
love it.
Kendrick
I love
Bourne.
it.
Hear me now. Hear me. So look, first year on the Patriots, he had 55 receptions for 800 yards, which was pretty good. Now, he had Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. Now, second year, he had 35 receptions for 434 yards. Like, Philip, why did his production go down? Because he had Matt Patricia calling plays for
Yeah.
him. I mean, I'm surprised he survived on the Lions as a head coach that long. But now he actually have an offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien, who the Patriots took from Alabama. So now I really believe that he's going to be a sleeper. I would put him at flex.
Yep.
Definitely
Yeah.
at a flex player. So he's great at catching the ball. He has hands. He could catch contested passes. He's yards after
after
catch.
catch.
So
Yep.
Yak.
So I really believe he's a very strong
He
player.
could genuinely
and he's a
be.
very sleeper.
He could genuinely be wide receiver one for the Patriots this season too.
I think he is
it's
over
such
Parker and Juju.
It's such a toss-up between all of our receivers: Parker, Juju, Kendrick Bourne. Either of them could be wide receiver one, but I think
Yeah.
Kendrick Bourne has the best.
Jackie
ability.
looking at me
Now,
hard.
for
bro.
people that do not know,
Okay.
we spent a whole mock show talking about how Isaiah Likely in Phil's eyes is
That-
so good. It's going
That
to
did
be
not need
better
to be
than
brought
Mark
back
Andrews.
up.
No.
He talked about Isaiah Likely isn't even on an ADP scale for ESPN. His average pick is 259th. That sounds like a perfect sleeper if you really believe in Isaiah Likely. If you could draft someone 259th
You
overall.
gotta put context into it. Now, I say Mark Andrews' production will go down. Because Lamar
Isaiah
finally
Likely's
got
will go
a lot
up.
of weapons. And
I just cannot believe you did not pick Isaiah Likely.
All right.
Stick to your guns.
Let's get back on track. Let's get back on track. All right, so 2 more other players I would have also put on this list. Dalton Kincaid could easily be the number 1 for the Buffalo Bills this season. Very pass-heavy offense. I love that pick, honestly. He was tight end 15th ranking. I would 100% pick him a lot higher. And also Jahan Dotson. He was wide receiver 38.
Love
Jahan
that.
Dotson is very, very, very low. I think he was below both Pickens and Drake London. I would pick Jahan Dotson over both of them personally in myself. So, yeah, but that's all I got, Andrew. Thank you for your list. Go
Thank you
ahead.
guys for your time.
I mean,
Yeah.
take George Pickens off the list, you'd be good. 'Cause
If
I don't
you've seen his
think he's a
Pickens
sleeper.
highlights,
Pickens
you would-
fantastic.
He's not a sleeper.
Dotson's a
He's not
fantastic
highlights,
pick.
you would know.
Dotson, to
He's
be
like me and I
honest.
am.
Yeah, he's not a sleeper.